Long ago, in the sunny lands of Brighton, there lived a wise and kind king. One day, as he wandered near the river, he came across a small baby girl floating gently on a wooden cradle. The baby's eyes sparkled like stars, and her tiny face radiated innocence. Astonished by her beauty and purity, the king took her home and named her Sophie, meaning wisdom, for she seemed as gentle and flawless as the morning light. Sophie grew up under the king's care, loved like a precious jewel. She was extraordinary, with eyes like the moon and hair as dark as the night sky. She was gentle, kind, and wise beyond her years. People from near and far came to see her, captivated by her charm, yet Sophie remained humble and pure-hearted. Far away, in the rugged hills of Cornwall, a young prince named Peter was born into a noble family. Peter was brave, strong, and honorable, yet he carried the weight of his family's reputation on his shoulders. He was taught to be just, fearless, and wise, a man destined to lead. One day, fate brought Peter to Brighton as part of a traveling journey. When Peter and Sophie first saw each other, it was as if time stopped. Peter's heart raced at the sight of Sophie's beauty, and Sophie felt a strange, deep connection she could not explain. It was love at first sight, pure, overwhelming, and destined. Yet their love was not simple. Sophie was the adopted daughter of the King of Brighton, while Peter was a prince from distant Cornwall. They came from different worlds, and their union would face many obstacles. Still, neither distance nor social rules could extinguish the flame that had kindled between them. They met secretly in gardens and by rivers, whispering words of love under the stars, their hearts beating in unison. Sophie's beauty and purity soon became the talk of the kingdom. Some admired her, others envied her. Among the envious was a cunning minister who feared Sophie's charm might one day overshadow the royal family. Meanwhile, Sophie remained innocent, spending her days tending the gardens, learning music and poetry, and helping the poor. Her heart, however, always longed for Peter, imagining the day they could be together freely. Peter, meanwhile, was torn between duty and desire. His father, the King of Cornwall, had arranged for him to marry a princess from a noble lineage. Peter wished to honor his father's wishes, but his love for Sophie was so strong that no power on earth could separate them in spirit. He sent secret letters to Sophie, hidden in flowers, expressing his longing and devotion. Sophie read them with tears in her eyes, each word deepening her love and commitment. Months passed, and their love grew despite the obstacles. Friends urged them to seek the blessings of their families, but society was rigid and kings did not bend easily. The tension between love and duty, desire and honor began to shape their fates. One fateful day, Peter had to return to Cornwall. Leaving Sophie filled him with sorrow, yet he promised that their hearts would remain united. He gave her a ring, a symbol of unwavering love, and they parted with tears and whispered vows beneath the moonlight. Sophie watched him leave, her heart heavy but filled with hope. She trusted in their destiny, believing that true love would find a way. Thus began the tale of Sophie and Peter, a love so deep that even the heavens watched in wonder. Their story was not just a romance, but a tale of courage, patience, and the power of a heart that refuses to surrender. Sophie, the pure-hearted girl from Brighton, and Peter, the noble prince of Cornwall, were bound together by a love destined to face challenges beyond imagination. As Sophie grew into a young woman, her beauty became legendary. People spoke of her with reverence, and poets wrote verses in her honor. Yet happiness felt incomplete without Peter by her side. She would sit by the river, gazing at the horizon, imagining their paths crossing again, dreaming of a love that was eternal. In Cornwall, too, Peter struggled with thoughts of Sophie. His days were filled with royal duties, but his nights were haunted by memories of her smile, her voice, and her eyes. He could neither eat nor sleep, for his heart belonged to Sophie alone. Fate had entwined their lives, and no power on earth could sever the bond between them. Thus began the stage for a story that would echo through generations, a story of devotion, sacrifice, and the triumph of true love over all obstacles. The journey of Sophie and Peter was only beginning, and the challenges ahead would test their courage and the depth of their hearts. After Peter returned to Cornwall, the distance between him and Sophie felt unbearable. Sophie, though surrounded by the beauty and comforts of Brighton, could not forget the prince whose eyes had captured her soul. Every sunrise reminded her of the moments they had shared by the river. Every gentle breeze whispered his name. Her heart ached with longing, yet her faith in their love never wavered. Meanwhile, Peter, back in the rugged hills of Cornwall, struggled with the weight of duty. His father had insisted that he marry a princess from a noble family to strengthen alliances. Though he obeyed out of respect, Peter could not bring himself to love another. Every night, he traced the memory of Sophie's face, her smile, and the ring she had worn from him, praying that fate would guide him back to her. Back in Brighton, Sophie's beauty continued to draw attention, and not all of it was welcome. The cunning minister, envious of her charm, began spreading rumors to tarnish her reputation. He whispered lies to the king, claiming that Sophie's heart was restless and that she longed for someone unworthy. The king, who had raised Sophie as his own, trusted her purity and dismissed the minister's deceit. Still, Sophie could feel the shadow of danger closing in. One day, Sophie's longing for Peter became unbearable, and she decided to send a secret message. She wrote a heartfelt letter and entrusted it to a trusted messenger, asking that it reach Peter no matter the distance. Days passed, and Sophie waited anxiously. Each moment without news felt like an eternity. Peter received Sophie's letter in Cornwall and read it under the moonlight. Tears filled his eyes as he traced her words, each sentence echoing the depth of their love. He realized that no earthly power could keep them apart. Yet he also knew the dangers of defying his father's wishes. His heart was torn between love and duty. Determined to see Sophie again, Peter secretly prepared for a journey, disguising his intentions even from his closest companions. He longed to hold her hand, hear her voice, and tell her that their love would survive all trials. Meanwhile, Sophie, unaware of his plans, continued her life with hope, tending the gardens, helping the needy, and waiting for the day they could reunite. However, fate was cruel. Before Peter could reach Brighton, news arrived that the minister had plotted against Sophie. He had bribed some men to abduct her and take her far from the kingdom. One evening, as Sophie walked by the river, she was seized and carried away into the night. The stars that had once witnessed her love with Peter now watched silently as she was taken to an unknown place, far from home. Sophie awoke in a distant land, terrified and alone. Her heart ached not only for her safety, but for Peter, who she feared might never find her. Yet her spirit remained strong. She whispered prayers to the heavens, asking for guidance and strength. The wind seemed to carry her words across valleys and hills, as if reaching Peter, letting him know she remained faithful and courageous. When Peter learned of Sophie's abduction, he was struck with grief and anger. He could not rest, eat, or sleep. Determined to rescue her, he gathered a small group of trusted friends and set out on a perilous journey across rivers, forests, and hills. Each step tested his courage, yet his love for Sophie gave him strength beyond measure, and nothing could deter him from his mission. Meanwhile, Sophie endured hardships in the land where she was held. Though her captors tried to intimidate her, she remained dignified and composed. Her beauty, wisdom, and resilience impressed even those sent to control her. She often gazed at the horizon, imagining Peter's arrival, whispering to the wind, "Come to me, my love. Our hearts are bound by destiny, and no force can separate us." Days turned into weeks, and Peter continued his tireless search. He crossed scorching fields, climbed steep hills, and braved dangerous forests, guided only by his love for Sophie. Finally, after a long and perilous journey, he reached the land where she was held. Their eyes met across the courtyard, and in that instant, the world fell away. They ran to each other, embracing with tears and whispers, vowing never to be separated again. Yet, even in reunion, their trials were not over. Returning to Brighton in Cornwall would not be simple. They would have to face societal opposition, family expectations, and lingering shadows of jealousy and intrigue. But in that moment, holding each other, they felt invincible. Their love, forged in adversity, had survived the cruelties of fate, and nothing could break it. Thus, Sophie and Peter's love grew deeper, stronger than ever. Their hearts intertwined, their souls united in a bond that no earthly power could sever. And yet the ultimate test of their devotion was still to come, a challenge that would demand courage, sacrifice, and unwavering faith in the face of destiny. Even after reuniting, Sophie and Peter knew their journey would not be easy. The world around them was filled with jealousy, envy, and strict societal expectations. Families and kings had plans, and their love, pure as it was, challenged traditions. They had to be brave, clever, and patient to face the trials that awaited them. One day, Peter's father summoned him back to Cornwall. Duty called, and Peter had no choice but to obey. He could not leave Sophie unprotected, but he had to honor his responsibilities as a prince. With a heavy heart, he promised Sophie he would return soon. Sophie, trusting in their love, bade him farewell. The separation, though temporary, filled both with sorrow. Their hearts ached, yet their love remained steadfast. After Peter left, Sophie continued her daily life, tending gardens, singing by the river, and helping those in need. Yet the emptiness in her heart was unbearable. Every sight reminded her of Peter. The warmth of his hand, the kindness in his eyes, the soft laughter that had filled her days. She spent nights gazing at the moon, whispering prayers for his safety and longing for their reunion. Fate, however, had further trials in store. The cunning minister, still seeking revenge, spread false news that Peter had married another princess in Cornwall. Sophie's heart shattered. She could not bear the thought of living without him. Her sorrow turned to determination. If the world would not allow them to be together, she would challenge destiny itself to find him. Without hesitation, Sophie left Brighton secretly, guided only by hope. She ventured into forests, valleys, and wilderness. Her journey was perilous. Storms threatened to sweep her away, wild animals lurked, and hunger and exhaustion tested her endurance. Yet her love for Peter gave her courage. She whispered to the wind, My love, wherever you are, I will find you. Nothing can keep our hearts apart." Meanwhile, Peter, unaware of Sophie's journey, continued his royal duties. Yet each day thoughts of her consumed him. Finally, one night under the stars, he decided he could wait no longer. He set out to find her, accompanied by a few loyal friends, traversing forests, hills, and rivers. His love for Sophie guided every step. Sophie faced unimaginable hardships. Hunger, fatigue, and the dangers of wilderness tested her, but she refused to give up. Her love for Peter became a beacon in the darkness, guiding her through the vast, unforgiving landscape. She sang songs of hope, as if the wind itself carried her voice to Peter. Days turned into nights, and nights into weeks. Peter, following her trail, faced the same challenges: storms, wild paths, and dangerous cliffs. Yet his resolve never wavered. He knew love was stronger than life itself. Each step brought him closer, even if the distance remained vast. Finally, in a quiet valley near a crystal-clear river, fate brought them together once more. Their eyes met, and the world seemed to vanish. They ran into each other's arms, tears streaming, hearts pounding, whispering vows of never being apart again. In that embrace, they felt invincible. Yet the world outside still demanded obedience, respect for tradition, and family approval. But in that moment, surrounded by nature's beauty, Sophie and Peter realized their love was their true kingdom. No palace, no title, no law could match the bond they shared. Their hearts were united, their souls intertwined, and their love had been tested by trials, storms, and separation. The wilderness became a symbol of their devotion, harsh, challenging, yet pure and beautiful. They understood that true love required sacrifice, courage, and unwavering faith. Every step taken together was a testament to their commitment. And though the world might challenge them again, Sophie and Peter were ready to face it hand in hand. Thus, the story of Sophie and Peter grew even more legendary. Their love, born at first sight and tested by distance, danger, and deceit, shone as a beacon of hope. Their journey through forests, valleys, and the wilds became a tale that inspired generations, a reminder that true love is never easy, but always worth the struggle. Sophie and Peter had endured storms, separation, and the harshness of the wild, yet fate still had one final trial for them. As they returned toward Brighton, hoping for peace, whispers of the cunning minister's schemes reached their ears. The minister, unwilling to let their love flourish, had spread false tales of betrayal and sought to create obstacles that could crush their happiness. Peter, determined to protect Sophie, confronted the minister, but the cunning man was clever, twisting words and sowing fear among the king's council. The king, though fond of Sophie, was cautious. He loved the girl as his own, but he feared the political consequences of Peter's defiance. Sophie and Peter were summoned to the royal court to answer questions, their love now facing the ultimate test of loyalty, courage, and truth. Sophie, with her gentle strength and unwavering honesty, spoke first. She told the king of her love for Peter, recounting their trials, their separation, and the unyielding faith they had in each other. Her words were filled with emotion, her voice steady yet soft, touching everyone in the hall. Peter, standing beside her, echoed her words, recounting his journey, the dangers he had faced, and the depth of his devotion. The king, moved by their courage and the purity of their love, realized the minister's deceit. The council's whispers fell silent as truth and sincerity filled the hall. The minister was exposed, his envy and treachery revealed for all to see. Justice was served, and the path to happiness was cleared for Sophie and Peter. Finally, the king gave his blessing. The court rejoiced, for love had triumphed over deceit, fear, and separation. Sophie and Peter, hand in hand, felt the weight of all trials lift from their hearts. Their journey, full of hardship and danger, had strengthened their bond and shown that true love could overcome even the harshest obstacles. Peter and Sophie were married in a grand ceremony in Brighton, celebrated not just by royalty, but by all who had admired their story. Flowers adorned the palace, rivers sparkled under the sun, and music filled the air. Yet amidst all the splendor, their eyes always found each other's, a silent promise that no matter what the world demanded, their hearts would remain united. Life after marriage was not without its challenges, but Peter and Sophie faced everything together. They ruled with wisdom and compassion, their love inspiring their people. They helped the poor, resolved conflicts, and nurtured the beauty of their kingdom, always remembering the trials that had brought them closer. In quiet moments by the river, Sophie would lean against Peter, whispering, "We survived the storms, the distance, and the treachery. Our hearts were strong because we believed in love." Peter would smile, holding her hand, "And we will continue to face the world together. Nothing can break what we have built." Years passed, and the story of Sophie and Peter became legend, a tale told to children and travelers alike. It was a story of courage, devotion, and the power of love that never yields. Their journey showed that love is not only about joy, but about enduring hardships, remaining faithful, and believing in the bond of the heart. In the end, Sophie and Peter grew old together, their love deepening with every passing year. They often sat by the river where they had first met, recalling the adventures and trials that had shaped their lives. And as the sun set over Brighton and Cornwall, their hands intertwined, they knew that their love had not only survived fate, but had triumphed over it, an eternal testament to the power of hearts united by destiny. Thus ended the story of Sophie and Peter, a tale of love so pure and steadfast that it transcended distance, danger, and deceit. Their story remained a shining example of devotion, inspiring all who heard it, proving that true love, tested by trials and guided by courage, can conquer all. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel for more heartfelt tales. Your support means a lot. Don't forget to leave your suggestions in the comments to help me improve and bring even better stories for you.